Navid Afkari. Okay, why don't we hit this up? Because I think, I don't know if you guys are following the story or not, but I want to hit this up. And Kai, I don't know if you have the video or not. If you don't, it's all good. It's totally fine. If you can just pull up the picture so we can talk about what happened here. So, and if you can go to my Twitter profile as well, just to show what happened. So for those of you that don't know, Navid Afkari is a wrestler in Iran, a national champion. If you can pull up his picture so we know what he looks like. He's a national champion in Iran, wrestler. 2 years ago, he decides to protest against what was going on in Iran with 200 other people and his two brothers, okay? So he goes out there and he protests. And, you know, the economy in Iran's not doing very well. It's challenging times. Of course, there's the sanctions that U.S. has put. So these guys are having a hard time. And he goes up against the prime minister, says, we need to do something in Iran because this is not going the right direction. Long story short, he ends up getting arrested because he is a national champion. He's a figurehead. People know who he is. He gets arrested. They take him in. They go and they put oil in his, alcohol in his nose for him to admit that he killed somebody. So eventually, to stop from being tortured, he says what? Fine, I did it, okay? They announced just 2 weeks ago they're going to execute this guy. Iran announced that they're going to execute him and kill him, right? There's three brothers. They decide to execute him, but the world's like, maybe they're not going to do it. He's going to get 74 whiplashes and then get executed. His other brother is going to get 74 whiplashes and go to jail for 52 years or 54 years. His other brother is going to get 74 lashes on his back and go to jail for 27 years, okay? This is what the charges were against these three brothers for simply protesting, right? I go out there on Twitter. If you can post my Twitter tweet that I put up, and here's what I said on Twitter. I made a video about it. Go up, go up, go up, go up, go up. A little bit higher. You're almost there. You're almost there, right there. So I go up and I said, pause it. And I said, those who live in a country with human rights rarely think about it, and those who don't can't stop thinking about it. Iran hasn't valued human rights for over 40 years. If you agree with this, please retweet and tag Olympics. Let's save the life of Navid Afkari. My message here was directed to the Olympics. The reason why it was directed to the Olympics was because Olympics can do something about this to say, if you do and move forward with this execution, guess what? We are going to cancel Iran competing in the Olympics. So I announced this. Then if you go up there to a CNN article to see what the Olympics said, just type in Navid Afkari in a search. Go to search and type in Navid Afkari and type right there, CNN. It just came up, CNN, first one. Go on the second article, and let's read this together. Iranian champion wrestler Navid Afkari executed despite international campaign. So he was executed a couple days ago. If you can make it a little bit smaller, Kai, so I can read it to the audience right there. So the International Olympic Committee said it was shocked by the announcement. In letters, Thomas Bach, the IOC president, had made direct personal appeals to the supreme leader and to the president of Iran this week and asked for mercy for Navid Afkari while respecting the sovereignty of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The statement said, it is deeply upsetting that the pleas of athletes from around the world and all the behind-the-scenes work of the IOC together with the NOC of Iran, United World Wrestling, and National Iran Wrestling Federation did not achieve our goal. Fine. So you went and you plead. So I said tag Olympics. We tagged Olympics on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter maybe 10,000 times. I said, okay. So they make this statement. They reached out to Iran. Iran doesn't listen to what the Olympics say. Say, screw you. We're going to execute him even though you like this or not. Mother comes out. If you watch the mother's speech, you will be heartbroken if you listen to what the mother says. Now, here's a couple stats for people that are watching this. Iran is the number 2 country in the world for executions. Last year was 253 people were executed. This is not the death penalty, by the way. This is execution. There's a big difference between execution and death penalty. Execution is, a German type of execution, and death penalty is a different kind of death penalty. You go up there, you do. Obviously, there's a form of execution, but you go through execution. Out of the 253 people that were executed, 13 of them were live, in person. Let me say this one more time. In Iran, 253 people were executed. 13 of them were live. People came and saw a person being executed.
We're in the streets?
In the street. It's a statement. If you do this, this is what's going to happen to you. They're the number 2 country in the world in execution.
Number one, China?
You know who's the number 1 country in the world?
Saudi Arabia?
China's number 1. China's number 1. Iran's number 2. So then I said, okay, let me pull up the list of what countries have been banned from the Olympics. Kai, can you pull up the history of countries that have been banned from the Olympics? This is the list that we have. Olympic countries banned from the Olympics. The banning of the Russian athletes team Rio Olympics, not the first time a team or country has been banned from participating in the Olympics. Here's a timeline of countries that have been banned. 1920, Antwerp. 5 countries were banned due to the environment, the First World War: Austria, Bulgaria, Turkey, Hungary, and Germany. Fine. Paris in 1924, the ban of Germany following World War II. Makes sense. Through the Austria, Bulgaria, Turkey, Hungary were allowed to compete. 1948, London, Germany, and Japan were barred for their participation in the Second World War. Fine. So Germany and Japan were barred. 1964, Tokyo. South Africa was banned by the IOC for taking part due to its oppressive, how do you pronounce that word? Apartheid regime, which, say that
Apartheid.
again? Apartheid, which is, apartheid is what? Like, you know, it's segregation.
It's like
another
segregation,
word.
exactly.
Blacks and whites, the whole segregation.
Exactly.
So they
very
were
famous in South Africa.
And by the way, that happened year after year after year after year. So 64, 68, 72. This goes on with South Africa. You can keep going lower and lower. So South Africa has been banned. By the way, 1968, North Korea competed again a second GNFO in 1966, which meant they were suspended by the IOC, causing the nation to miss 1968 Olympics as well. So 1968 Mexico, North Korea couldn't compete. 1972 Munich, South Africa, as well as Zimbabwe was banned from participating as other African countries threatened to pull out if Rhodesia took part. Okay, 1976 Montreal, South Africa, South Africa, South Africa. 2000 Sydney, Afghanistan was banned from the Olympics due to its discrimination against women under Taliban rule, as well as its prohibition of sports of any kind. And then you have obviously 2016, many Russian competitors were banned following revelations of state-sponsored doping. All athletes from okay, okay, you see all this stuff, right? Okay, so let's come to today. Okay, Olympics, you pleaded for an athlete to not be executed, and Iran didn't listen. Now what are you going to do? Are you now going to say, fine, you are banned from the next Olympics? So now when you say that, some people say, well, that's not fair because you are making people's dreams not become a reality in Iran that are trained so hard to go become a Olympic winner. Here's one thing you have to realize. I have an agent that works for us. His name is Morteza Alborzi, okay? Phenomenal guy. I met this guy when I was 23 years old. He's a sweetheart of a guy. He's doing very well for himself in our company right now. Morteza Alborzi out of LA. He's a 8 or a 9 degree black belt. Can you type in Morteza Alborzi black belt? Morteza Alborzi black belt. Morteza.
Spell it for us too, Kai.
Z-A. You got it. Actually, perfect
Nice
so
job.
far. He spells better Farsi than English, by the way. So Alborzi, A-L-B-O-R. Right there, it came up, right? Morteza Alborzi black belt. Yeah, okay, perfect. Press that and then go to images, okay? This guy's been all over the place when it comes down to martial arts, okay? Right here, right there. No, you had it right. Just go on that magazine that says Masters. Go on the magazine that says Masters. If you go back, that's him, Alborzi, okay? 8 degree, 9 degree black belt. He was in jail in Iran. He's been one of the top Olympic trainers and not judges, but somebody that trained the Iranian team for the longest time, right? He escaped. He came to America. He trained here. He trained a lot of students here. Tens of thousands of students in Beverly Hills have taken his classes. This man has built so many young boys that became leaders. Moral of the story is this. If the Olympics are so serious about this movement, why don't you ban Iran and China of the next Olympics that we have? Why don't we do that?
Okay, well, I'll ask you this question because you're from there. Wouldn't the regime in Iran right now look at a ban from the IOC similar to a public execution? Like, they don't give a damn about promoting sports in Iran. They just want to suppress their people, stay in power. So that would almost strengthen them a little bit to say, we're still going to do what we do and execute people if we perceive that you commit these crimes. They might embrace that because they don't really care.
Oh, I don't think that's how this works, though. Let me tell you how this works. Tom, how much longer are you going to tolerate California mistreating you? At what levels?
Couple months.
No, but at what levels is a breaking point for you? I mean, by the way, I'm not. This has got nothing to do with our relationship.
Right.
Anything. I'm just asking you.
Right. Whatever the answer is, it's out there. All right. It exists.
Okay. But could California push you to a breaking point of you saying you're leaving?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess anything's possible.
Did that happen to me? Could they push me out? He left Colombia. His family left Mexico, right? I mean, how come we have 40 million immigrants in the U.S.? How come people are leaving other countries? I think Iran thinks their people won't do anything about it. And they have to understand this whole sanction that Trump put on Iran. Why did he put the sanctions on Iran?
Strengthen Saudi Arabia.
Okay. Why else did he put the sanctions of Iran?
Because it's evil, maybe.
As a method of saying, hey, and then he supported the revolution of the people wanting to protest against Iran, right? For what? For maybe a fall of an empire in Iran that is not believing in human rights, not taking care of its people. They're claiming what they're doing. The people are afraid. They're oppressed. I mean, you're trying to get people to have some kind of a freedom. Yeah. This would be a certain statement that's being made to say, look, we don't support, execution. We don't support what you're doing because you're doing that. Look, forget about the Olympics.
But I agree with you. I think that's what they should do. But would it have any effect on the leadership in Iran? I don't think so. Couldn't there be a coup? Isn't this a country where that could actually happen? I couldn't see it happening really in North Korea and some of these other places. But don't they have the ability there to covert, with the support of the U.S., with the support of Saudi Arabia, to flip this eventually? Or is it too difficult?
To flip what?
The leadership in Iran. To get rid of these.
Of course you could do it. I mean, of course you could do it. It's not.
How is it done?
How is it done? It's painful. And it's going to cost a lot of people's lives. And it's going to be a lot of young lives. This is why it's not the younger generation that doesn't want a revolution. It's the older generation that's telling their kids, be careful. Don't go out there. Which I fully support. Every parent would tell their kids that. But the opposition, when you look at, when you talk to when you meet a lot of Persians, you'll hear a lot of people say things like this in LA. They'll say, I don't know why it is, man. When I meet Persians, man, Persians are such good business people. They're always making money. It's not that they're making such good money. It's the fact that the business people of Iran left Iran to come over here. It's not that they are the business people of Iran left Iran. It's not that all Persian people are business people. Do you understand what I just said?
Right? Opportunity to make money
it's here. That they left Iran to come over here. The business people that left Iran to. It's a filtering process that you have.
The capitalists left.
Yeah, basically. Look, I got kids, man. I'd love to one day take my kids to Iran. And quite frankly, 2 years ago, I was going to go on a trip to Iran with a few friends and not publicize it, just to go to Iran because I miss my country I was born in. I wanted to go to the streets I was raised, all this other stuff. But for me to go to Iran today would not be the smartest move to make, to go to Iran today.
No chance you would go.
They'd be waiting for you.
They would be waiting for somebody like me.
They would love to set an example with a guy like you.
They would love nothing more than that. Yes. But I would love one day to go there with a group of friends and say, hey, here's what it looks like, man. Because it's a beautiful country, man. The history of it is so beautiful to go to it. But, heartbroken when I saw that Navid Afkari was executed.
It's unbelievable. How about his brothers in jail the rest of their life?
What percentage of Iranians would love to see a coup?
A big part.
50%?
No, it's a bigger than that. It's a
bigger than 50%.
No question. But here's the thing: the only reason why that number could change is one question: at what cost? 100%, 95% would love to see a coup, but at what cost? Then the cost is only 20% or 10% or 5% would like to see a coup with the cost. I don't know if this makes sense or not. It's like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, what percentage of the world would like to be a millionaire? Well, everybody.
Of course,
but what percentage is willing to work 80 hours a week for 10 years? Well, not 1%. A big percentage. So it's at what cost am I willing to get the coup?
Do we have any case examples of coups initiated by the people? Obviously, we can't look at Iraq. U.S. came in there and invaded them, right? Or we can't look at Libya, type of thing. What coups have been successful over the last 50 years?
Well, a revolution flipped Iran 40-some years ago.
That's 40 years ago. Yeah. So since then.
The perfect example, they have the playbook for it in Iran. Kai, were you trying to say something?
Yeah.
We can't hear you.
Use the mic, Kai.
A lot of the Eastern European bloc had revolutions when they broke
When they broke off from Russia, you're saying?
Yeah.
Or the USSR.
Hey, Pat, were you surprised?
Arab Spring is another one popping out in 2010.
That's a good point. It's recent, 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Look at Libya. Look at these countries. Gaddafi. Were you surprised they actually went through with the execution? To me, personally, I was a little bit surprised.
Well, did you see what Trump tweeted yesterday about Iran? Type in Trump tweets and go to see what he said about Iran yesterday. Middle of the night, by the way. I don't know if you saw that or not. Did you guys see that or no? Have you seen what Trump tweeted? Okay, so this is 2 days after the execution. Go up a little bit to make sure it's not that. Okay, you're good. It's not that one. Keep going, keep going, keep going. This is what Trump just said about Iran. Okay, right there. Click on that one right there. Okay, click on it so we can read the whole thing. According to press reports, Iran may be planning an assassination or other attack against the United States in retaliation for the killing of terrorist leader Soleimani, which was carried out for his planning a future attack, murdering U.S. troops, and the death and suffering caused over so many years. Any attack by Iran in any form against the United States will be met with an attack on Iran that will be 1,000 times greater in magnitude, right? Okay, that happens 2 days after the execution of Navid Afkari, okay? So you asked the question, were you surprised? Because you were surprised. I'm not surprised. Adam asked the question yesterday, which was a very good question. You said something about, don't you think Iran is trying to make a statement to say, hey, man, you keep bullying us and publicize us. We're going to show you in a different way.
Because Trump tweeted, please do not execute this man. Okay, thanks, Trump.
So you're saying Trump tweeted, please do not execute, and they did. So
I'm just saying they're not going to listen to Trump.
Guys, I'm 7 years old, looking outside my window, fourth floor in Iran, on Khiyaban Hojat, and I'm seeing thousands of people marching down the street, flagellating their backs. You know what flagellating is?
Yeah, self-whipping themselves.
But it's peeling the skin off your back, so it's leaving a trail of blood. And they're screaming, Mark Bar America, death upon America. The messaging of what the media says to the Iranian people about America, if you live in Iran, America is the worst, most evil empire in the world if you live in Iran. It's their method of preventing their citizens to leave to come to Iran, come to U.S. Because
all propaganda.
Iran,
North Korea, Iran,
my gosh,
propaganda.
If you had a Michael Jackson shirt on in the 80s, you were the coolest cat on campus. I'm
in
telling
Iran.
you, in Iran, if you had a Michael Jackson shirt on, that was like, if you wore a Calvin Klein or a Tommy Hilfiger shirt, you're the coolest guy on campus if you got a Tommy Hilfiger shirt. So yes, I think majority of Iran would like to see it. I just don't know if it's going to happen.
I'll say this, they didn't listen to Trump's plea. He begged, hey, please. He was very respectful in that tweet where he asked them not to execute the wrestler. I don't think they're going to look at that as bluster. I think they believe, after 4 years, he pretty much backs up what he says. So, right, a lot of times people think of what Trump's doing, he's, a maniac with tweets or whatnot, but if they did something, don't you believe that 1,000 times might be accurate as far as what the retaliation would be? Don't you think the Iranian leadership might hate Trump, but do you think they respect him a little bit, that might be true, and they better, do you think he's kept them under his thumb a little bit out of fear?
Yeah, so my guesstimation is the following. When they retaliated after Soleimani was killed, do you remember what Iran did? Do you remember what they attacked? They attacked a military base that was empty.
Right.
Okay, if you remember that. They attacked an empty military base to say, look what we did if you come after Soleimani, right? And then they said, we're not going to attack. But the guy in Iranian, the military, I think it's a foreign minister, I don't know which one it is. By the way, can you type in Iran foreign minister? The guy's a genius. If you've never seen this guy's interview, this is a strategist. This is not a lightweight guy.
If you're talking
Let
about
me see if it's go to images to see, go to images.
Javid Zarif.
Go to images.
Yes. This guy's legit.
Yeah, this guy is he is, if you've ever seen any of his interviews, he's not a lightweight. Okay, he's not a lightweight.
Can I tell you something about this guy? Who's my favorite guy on CNN that I always I love this guy. I love this guy.
CNN,
Fareed Zakaria.
Yes.
He does a show every Sunday. Brainiac. This guy comes on the show quite often. An Iranian foreign minister comes on the show quite often. If you did not know all the issues that the United States has with Iran, he is very convincing.
He's very convincing. Very convincing. He did an interview on CNN. He's very convincing, and he is very strategic. So my guess is the following: if they do attack, do you think Trump is dead serious about the counterattack to Iran?
Yeah.
I do.
Do you think he's dead serious about how ugly it's going to be for Iran? Yes or no?
Frankly, yes, I do.
Do you say yes?
He is known for his bluster. However, with Iran, I think he's paying very close attention to them.
If Iran attacks a military base and one soldier dies, do you think Trump will retaliate?
I agree, yes.
Do you think the exchange will be one soldier for one soldier?
No.
Or do you think it's going to be 1,000 soldiers?
I think he will make a point.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think they won't do anything until there's a different president that's a little softer and easier going to be able to make an attack like that. That's what I think.
Iran.
Yeah, because look, what did Iran do the day Jimmy Carter was no longer president? What did they do the day Reagan became a president? What did they do? What did Iran do?
Backed off, I'm sure.
They released the prisoners. You don't remember the releasing the prisoners? And Reagan gave the speech giving credit to Carter and saying things. But what Iran realizes, Carter's not going to attack us.
I thought Ben Affleck did that.
Yeah, Ben Affleck did that.
Argo.
Carter won't attack us, but Reagan will. So, there is a part of Trump and Reagan that they have some similarities. But
where is Iran on the nuclear proliferation at this point? With everything that happened with the Iran nuclear deal and Obama giving him a boatload of cash and then Trump pulling out, and then they said that they're going to start the nuclear proliferation again. Where are they with that?
They got this one country, I don't know if you've heard of, called China, that's giving them $400 billion. Mm-hmm. And China just doubled their nuclear powers that they had in China. They doubled it. Not a little bit. They doubled it. They're spending money into it. And if they're befriending North Korea and they're befriending Iran, it tells you who China's allies are.
And it also, the
new axis of evil.
Well, and then the dynamic of the U.S. supporting Saudi Arabia like we are. Troops, financial support right there to keep Iran in line. So far, so good.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I'd love to see nothing more than to see Iran be free again. And maybe I'll be doing some interviews on that topic here pretty soon.